Hello everybody, my name is Micah and welcome back to another Plushie Breakdown. Today, we'll be talking about my Spider-Gwen bear. If you don't know what a Plushie Breakdown is, it's a series where I go over technical stuff and things that didn't quite make it into the original Make a Plushie With Me video. But guys, I am so happy with how this plush turned out. Like, ridiculously happy. Quite literally, the only thing I wish I had done differently was that I wish it were just a little bit smaller. The proportions are great, the design came out exactly how I wanted it to, but when I was prototyping, I came to a fork in the path. The head was a bit too small for the body. Now, I knew that head was the head size I wanted because I'd used it for plushies like Jesper or the back of the collector's head. But if I wanted to keep the head the same size, I would have had to shrink
the rest of the body.
Meaning I would have had to retest the entire thing. On one hand, I could take 5 minutes to make the head just a little bit bigger and be done with it, or take 5 hours to retest the entire thing. 5 hours of extra work? Or 5 minutes of extra work? Which should I choose? I chose the 5 minutes. She still looks amazing, but she's just a little too big for my taste. Now she's solidly in the I'm sad and need something to hug category of plushie, rather than my I'm gonna bring this everywhere with me category. One great benefit of accidentally making a 20-inch plush rather than a 17-inch plush is that I now have a perfect size range for these things. A 20-inch, a 17-inch, and a 15-inch. And also a little 10-inch guy that I don't really use anymore. But you'll definitely get a peek at that new 17-inch pattern coming next month. All that aside, let's move on to some technical sewing talk. Now, you may or may not have noticed, but the bottom of Gwen's shoes are actually a cream color, not pure white like the rest of her. This is because I quite literally had no white fabric left. I maybe could have pieced together some white bits to make it look like the stripes or design on the bottom of the shoe, but then adding my details would have been a lot harder. Yes, I could have decided to not do the details at all, but I wasn't gonna do that. I was really happy with the little foot spider. I like to think of it as the squashed remains of the spider that bit this plushie to turn her into a spider bear. Set you up here for now. Another thing that didn't quite make it into the original Make a Plushie With Me video is the fact that I actually stuffed her head early on. Like, before it was attached to the body. So I did have to unstuff it before I could attach it to the body, but that's not the point. Now, I don't really attach my heads in one piece anymore because it's much easier to just attach them in 3 separate pieces, just like the body. But I needed to accommodate for the hood. I did not want any rough edges on this thing. And in order to do that, the hood needed to go around the neck in a perfect circle, not broken up into segments. Which means it was probably a good thing that I ended up making this plushie so big. Bigger plushies being easier to sew and all. But because I had that fully finished head just sitting right there, and because I needed to stuff it anyways to make sure that there weren't any mistakes, I decided to have a little fun with it. So of course, I did a little photo shoot with the bodiless head, just for fun. Now, I can't remember if I've mentioned this on the channel before, but when I make just about anything, I go through a couple different phases. One of which being the I hate it mode. This has happened with literally every single plush I have ever made. I get them all stuffed and they're ready to be hand sewn, but I absolutely hate them. I don't want to put extra work into something I hate. Then I have to set them aside for a day or so to let them, in my own terms, finish baking. Just like cookies keep baking after you take them out of the oven, so do my art projects. And usually after I let them sit for a bit, they either look okay, or I realize what I need to change about them to make them look right. The I hate it mode feels different from plush to plush, depending on what the actual problem is. For example, this time I just kind of felt ambivalent about the plush. I expected to really love it, but because I was all about it, it made me feel like there was something wrong with it. But after I let the plush sit on my desk overnight, I ended up absolutely loving it. But usually when something is actually wrong with the plush, I will feel like I legitimately hate it, just like the name for the mode implies. Anyway, let's move on to some sewing questions from you all. Because last month was so weird with how the videos were coming out, I'll be answering 2 questions from Jesper's Plushie Breakdown, the first breakdown I posted last month, and next month's Plushie Breakdown will have questions from both this comment section and a question from the Clicker Plushie Breakdown, which was the second one I posted last month. Our first question comes from Sketch Was Lost, and they asked, how do you decide which characters you want to make as plushies? Thank you, Sketch. I typically just pick characters that I like, or characters that I think would make for great plushies. For example, I like Donnie from Rise of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, so I turned him into a plushie, even if he's not the cuddliest with his battle shell on. Though there's about a million in Pokemon that I think would make for great plushies, at least one of which is on my plushie roster, but I'm not really into Pokemon. I just think some of them are cute, and that some of them would make for great huggable squishy plushies. It's a real special day when I get to make a character that I both like and would turn into a great plushie. Now, my patrons used to be able to vote and tell me what plushie I should make next every month, but then I realized it was making it really hard to keep up with trends and new media coming out. So I had to kind of overhaul the voting system, and now patrons will vote on things like speed crafts, things that should or shouldn't be put into videos, tiebreakers for plushies I just can't choose between, and once I hit 100 patrons, they'll be able to vote on what plushie should be added to the plushie roster that I choose from each month. That way I can still do the stuff that they want and schedule things around new media coming out. Like I did with this plushie. I was able to schedule it so that the Make a Plushie With Me video came out literally the day after the movie came out. The movie being Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. Now at 100 patrons, I'll also be giving away the plushies that I make too. I do currently still do little giveaways like this guy, but at 100, I'll be giving away the big plushies like this one. Or at least the ones that I don't personally want. Like if you guys added a random anime character that I don't even know, I would definitely be giving that away. So yes, you guys could vote to add your favorite character onto the plushie roster and then win that same character in a plushie giveaway. Next up, we have question 2 from Flaming Skies. They asked, do you think you could possibly make a video on what beginners should know before they start plushie making? It's a possibility, so yes is the short answer. Long answer, probably sometime in the future, but definitely not right now. The last couple months have been really wild trying to shove multiple plushies into one month, which was not a good idea. So right now, I'm still feeling the effects of that. But for now, there are still 3 other ways you can get sewing advice from me. I'll list them in order of least in-depth to most in-depth. Number 1, ask questions here on the Plushie Breakdowns. I'll answer 1 or 2 simple questions from each video in the next Plushie Breakdown. Number 2, head on over to my TikTok. I have a How to Plushie playlist over there with quite a few videos of sewing tips and tricks and beginner advice. I'm not making any more of those videos because I've pretty much covered everything I would like to cover over there. Anything else would be getting too in-depth for a 30 to 60 second TikTok. And the third way you can get sewing advice from me is joining my Bear tier over on Patreon. Bear tier patrons get to join a 1-hour-long sewing advice call with all other Bear tier patrons. It's once a month and over Discord. And on the call, you can ask all sorts of sewing questions and get answers right away. And hey, you can even show me what you're working on at the time. Like a show and tell. But with our questions answered, I think we're just about done here. Make sure you subscribe and hit that bell if you enjoyed. Comment your sewing questions below and I may just pick one for the next Plushie Breakdown. And don't forget to check out the making of this plush in last week's Make a Plushie With Me video. And remember, if that video gets 1,000 likes by the end of this month, I will be making a Miles Morales bear too. Bye bye!